Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. This is my surface. And take my junk up piece of cardboard and flip it over for today. We'll start fresh. And we'll get some paper towels. Because Dave's all about paper towels. Okay. And now that we got our paper towels set up, we'll go ahead and get the parts working on. Let's go ahead and grab this. And we'll start with this back piece. Because it's next on my to-do list. Now that I've got the color just right. Now the color's pretty close. If you can tell, it needs to be darkened. And then I'll gauge from there. Else we'll do the same thing. Okay. And I'm going to leave this piece out, the tank. I need to be able to see the resemblance, if you will, if I can. So I'm going to be kind of, this will be live, like as in I am going to guesstimate the color and hope it works the best. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, so we've got everything set up. Now what I do is I'm going to grab a tub and I'm going to fill it with water, and I'll show you what that means. I literally mean a tub of water. Okay, we'll come back to that. I also have my isopropyl alcohol. I put it in a smaller bottle, just handier. Okay, so set that off to the side. We'll go ahead and do the airbrush thinner. We'll go ahead and grab the retardant, and I will actually do a small segment real quick to show you why the retardant is important. And I will grab any paint like this one. We'll just grab, has this one already been opened? Nope, so the one next to it. Okay, we'll grab this one. Even though it's an airbrush paint, I'm running a fine needle, and I will show you why you need the retardant. I will explain it first after I grab my respirator. Alright, so respirator is on. Use some head strap and pull it down. Alright, so inside your airbrush, let's grab the airbrush. The problem with the drying retardant is that tiny needle that you can't see that's right there will actually be gunked up by paint as it's leaving. And what happens is because we work with acrylics, acrylics dry extremely faster than enamel paints. So on top of that needle tip gunking up, which means that as the air flows out, it is no longer hitting that perfectly smooth needle tip and being guided by the air to exactly where you want it. It's going to start picking pieces off, and it's going to send chunks and splatters and speckles. And even though this is airbrush rated paint, Minotaur, which I really enjoy, it still needs to have a couple things added to it. I like to thin mine down. I would rather run a couple coats over something, even with the drying retardant, than put down one coat of, oh crap, that looks like shit. 2. Inside this tiny cone will fill up with paint, and we don't want that to happen. It'll have the exact same effect, except the rebuild or the teardown for cleaning is excessively greater. So we're going to go ahead and rebuild all this. Real quick. Take our time and do it right. Snug it down. Okay. Give me 1 second. I put a really tough spring in here inside the back of this so I don't get that slop that you're seeing. The problem is that I have to make sure when I tighten this down, which obviously I over tightened it from the last time, is what you're seeing, and I don't want that. I like the firmer trigger far better than a looser trigger. I don't like a loose trigger. I would rather have to feel it come back every time like that. I want it to be tough to pull back. So this way I know that when I go to move back, if it doesn't change, my spray pattern doesn't change, then I know that it's too gummed up. It's not thin enough. Which is just a few seconds to adjust. You add a little bit of thinner, let it back pressure a little bit. But if it's too bad, then you'll have to drain this, and once you drain that, then you run alcohol cleaner. Okay, so it's exactly where I want it, and I'm looking at just under 10 psi, which is perfect. And so what I'm going to do is put my respirator on and let the show begin. I find that there is more or less room for error when you run at a lower PSI. Your paints have to be thinner, which means they're not going on as thick, but that also means that if I make a wrong line, I have room for adjustment. And I also think that when you're doing smaller models, like if I was base coating him with an airbrush, you're going to have a smoother consistency. Whereas the higher PSI tends to push the paint around just from the airflow itself. So let me grab our gloves. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slight mix of these two in this. So we'll go ahead and do that. I always put the thinner in first, and the reason I put the thinner in first is because inside this deep well, you can see the needle, okay? And when you can see the needle, that means that if I put straight paint into that there's a good chance that paint is going to come out of here first and start the whole clogging issue. So I always run the thinner first. I would rather have a little bit of thinner come out first than have paint glop it up. I mean, like we're talking drops. So, okay. So as you can see, I have about that much in there. Okay. I'm going to do mostly red, and I'm going to do a single drop of the black and see where that leaves me. Okay? because I'm not trying to darken the paint to the point where it's like, oh crap, now I got to put 30 drops of white in. I just want to be able to darken the red enough. Okay, so we're going to shake this one up just a little bit, not very much, because I've been using it all day. And we're going to put a single drop and see where this is going to net us. Oh, I didn't do it. I didn't show that. I'm sorry. 3 drops. That's it. Of the drying retarder. Okay. Okay. So when I do this, I want to make sure that like it flows instantly back down. I'm gonna have some on the sidewall, and that's fine. But I'm more concerned about, does it stay up on the sidewall? No? All right. Well, then that'll work. Okay. And let's just see how much darker this is. Not bad. Okay. I know somebody's gonna bitch that I didn't put the cap on. So fuck it. Okay. Okay, so I can definitely tell that there's a difference. And that's good because I always thought it was just slightly too light. So we're going to go ahead and just darken the whole thing in one shot. Alright. I think I like it. You can definitely tell that it's one shade darker. I think it puts it more on par with the Bane Blade already, which kind of works out in my favor. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing. And when I do similar colors like this, because I'm not putting a lot of paint down, I'm actually using the light to tell me where I put the paint down by showing me that instant glimmer, um, because it's such a similar color that I'm not really able to physically see it until I've laid too much down. So I want to prevent that by just kind of watching where I'm trailing with the brush by the glimmer, and then kind of blend that out just a little bit. And by blend it out, I mean like if I see one spot that's slightly more glimmerish than the other, I'll kind of just blend it a little bit evenly. I'm just checking my consistency. Oh, I just realized you can't see this. Son of a... bitch. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this up. Alright. So what I was doing was looking at that glimmer that you can kind of see. That's it drying at this point. But basically where I wanted to darken it, I started in one section and just kind of kept going across. Okay? Not too close, not too far. Just letting the paint tell me where it's going on best and where it's not going on at all. Oh! Oh, this is going on blooper reel. I'm glad this is only going to you. Things not to do with an airbrush. By me. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead, and while I still have paint in the pot, I'm going to then add more airbrush thinner. Okay? Go big or go home, right? Okay? And I wish that there was a science behind this. I'm pretty sure there is. I'm not that smart. Like, I guess you could say it's just kind of like doing it by feel. I added more red, okay? And I'm going to add a single drop of black again. But remember, there was stuff that was already in here that was dark. So I'm going to go another stage darker, probably 2 stages darker. But each drop of black is drastically going to make a difference. It's kind of like if you add a white drop to pink or to red, it instantly goes from like the bold red color that you were working with to instantly now it's a shade of pink. Doing the same thing will be, it's exactly the same thing just with black. So I got the shade that I'm looking for, but it looks like I just basically got the same thing, which is okay. I'd rather have the same than too dark. So I'm going to add another drop of black and see what happens. Okay, it looks like a darker brick. See the color difference? How it's like instantly darker. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of roll with that. I'm gonna see if I like it on one. I'll probably do the turret, and if I like the way it looks on the turret, I'm probably gonna transition this into the standard bang blade. Because unfortunately, I kind of don't remember how I painted it. It's been too long. There it goes. If it doesn't make enough of a difference to me, Rob, I'm basically going to go ahead and go darker again. Yeah, I'm going to go darker. You can barely tell that I darkened that. So we're going to go ahead and bring it one notch down. Oh, I added 2 drops of black. Oh, no. Alright, yeah, see, that's already looking better. Okay. Same thing, I'm going to check the wall. Flows right back in. Okay, so I'm not too worried about adding more thinner or more drying retardant. Um, because there was some retardant still in the initial mix. Let's get that. There we go. Yep, and the needle's not gunked up at all. So let's go ahead and try that again. Alright, that's working pretty good. pretty noticeable. I'm going kind of thin. And I'll definitely have to go back over this again when I wrap that around. Yep, I gotta add a little bit of thinner to this. Just a little bit. Okay. I was getting slight spitting, and I'm probably going to add 2 drops of retardant. Okay, it was flowing right back down the side as I was coming out, so I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay, I'm doing such small lines that I'll occasionally back off to make sure that I'm actually spraying paint. This is clarity for me, not for anybody else.
Alright, so I'm starting to get some gum on my tip of my needle. But I'm back in business. Okay? Let's see if I can turn this down just a little bit more. There we go. Then we go heavy around the edges, kind of on a tapered angle away, in between the gun. Same thing, tapered. And I'm going to go over this a couple times until I have a nice smooth radius. And then I don't like the white spot in the center. Gotta go. Yeah, it's starting to gum up again. Okay. That's what it looks like now. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to the engine. Since I made a slightly larger pop than normal. Now I know that this is all going to be blocked by the current turret, so we're going to just fade this out. Okay, go back over in the middle, spot. Okay, highlight right underneath some of these dimples. Okay. We're going to do the same thing on the side, fading up. Okay, we'll let that dry. And basically, I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna go through the bigger details, and just do the same thing. So like major panels, like not these little ones in here, but this big one will get the same treatment. Now I'm gonna kind of, so now that I've done this big panel, I'm now gonna go back to this eye-shaped structures, hammer-looking design, and we're just gonna go back over that and see if we can darken it down again. This time we're just gonna lay a little bit more paint down. Than before, and try and catch some of the raised edges going around it. Okay, so we took care of this. We've already knocked out the tiny triangle, and I'm going to do this other panel over here now. The problem with when you get to the super fine, like the needle gunks up really quick. Alright. I'll go ahead and just do the edges again going under. Okay. And what that's going to do is if any of the plastic sits on an angle, you won't have to worry about it not being conformed. You'll have the dark recesses. Okay? So let me show you the second part. The water bucket. What is that for? Well, that's what it's for. Okay? Some alcohol. Okay. Because the color I chose is red, also going to wipe the needle down. Something about that color. It's like when you brush red, you better get it off everything. Okay? And then right before I put it all the way in, I'm going to add some more alcohol because when I push the needle through, it's always going to catch some spot in the back, like it just did with paint. And as you can see, there is red. It always frees up that last little bit. Okay? Woo. Alright. She's clean. She's clean. Oh, you can't see any of that shit. Oh well. Well, you get an idea. Alright, so it's completely clean. Put it away. I'll come back over to this kit. Alright. Let's see how she does.
Alright. We'll start with the back end piece first. We'll set the back end in. Alright, I'm extremely happy because it looks like it's supposed to be there, and that's what I was going for. Go ahead and take the turret off. Take our little dude, put him on this one, even though he's not magnetized on this side. Alright, we'll do the same thing. Man, that looks fantastic. It looks like it was supposed to be there. I am happy. It is a slightly shade lighter. Okay, it's not predominant like the rest, and I'm okay with that being as I do have more pieces coming in, so what I'll probably do is try and do the same thing, except I'll add 3 drops of black right off the bat to this batch. So knowing that 2 drops got me this, I'll do a 3rd drop. I will also fail to mention that when I started cleaning this, when my hand walked away for a second, it was increasing the PSI. I went from like 7 PSI to I'm sitting at just under 20. Okay, and that's because I want to get the air to flow through. The more the air flows through this gun, the faster it's going to push particulates out and help kind of self-clean itself. And then I'm going to go ahead and lower it down until it's spraying just under 10. I want it to sit on 10 though, because when I spray it dips down. Here we go. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and shut it off. I hope that answered some of your questions. It is a little bit more time consuming than using a brush. I will admit that. But the quality and the effects of it are superior. I mean, I used, what, 4 drops of red paint, 5 drops of red paint, and 3 drops of black paint, and maybe less than a penny's worth of the retarder, and maybe 3 cents of the airbrush thinner. So, yeah, I can't beat it. Hope that answers some of your questions. All right, bye, Rod.